guys, welcome back. Um, I think it's funny how there are weeks that I know exactly what I'm going to talk about and I'm ready. And then there's weeks like this week where I maybe won't know what I'm going to talk about until like right before I start recording. This was one of those weeks. I had so much going on in my mind and so many different things that I felt that um, that the Lord wanted to show me this week, and that I was doing in my own personal devotionals. And then when I was listening to podcasts, I was like, oh, that's something good to talk about. Well, but I couldn't remember them. I should probably write them down. But I know that the Lord's going to come through and show me what He wants me to talk about. So today was not one of those days. I was like, man, I thought I knew what I wanted to talk about. And then it blanked. I've totally blanked. And then this mentality, this idea of legacy just kept coming to me. And it's been all week. I've been listening to different things, and this whole idea of what am I going to leave behind? I've talked to a few people this week, and I've listened to a lot of podcasts, which I've never been a podcast person ever. I used to laugh at people not laugh like in a mean way, but I used to chuckle and like roll my eyes at people that were like, oh, listen to this podcast. And I was like, no, I'm not a podcast person. But now that I clean a lot of houses, and I'm usually by myself at most of the houses that I clean, so I have a lot of time to myself, and I don't know what to do, and I don't always want to listen to the radio. So I started with listening to audiobooks, and then I ran out of audiobooks, and then I was like, well, what am I going to listen to? And it kind of just rolled into podcasts, because I was like, well, I would listen to stuff about parenting and then marriage, and so it just kind of rolled into me being a podcast person. So I was listening to a few this week on parenting and marriage and stuff like that, and just this idea of how you raise your kids and how you are in your marriage. Like, it lasts. People see you, they interact with you, they're a part of your life, they see your marriage, and all these different things. And how are you going to be remembered? And I guess because unfortunately, everything that's been going on in the news, it's hard not to think about, we're not promised tomorrow. We're not even promised an hour from now. You could walk out of your house and an hour later, that's it. And that has resonated with me these last 2 weeks, even longer than that, but more like, how am I going to be remembered, or what do I want to be remembered for? I saw that there's this reel going around, or TikTok, or whatever they call them now, and they asked Charlie Kirk, like, what do you want to be remembered for? And I thought about that, like, what do I want people to remember about me? I mean, there's just so many awesome things about me, but no. But I agreed with him. Like, I wanted to be remembered for my faith, and I want my daughter to be strong in her faith and say, I watched my mom do things that scared her, but she was obedient. And that's what I want. I want them to say, she maybe I can't totally be a Proverbs wife, a Proverbs 31 wife, but I do my best. I want them to be like, she loved the Lord and she loved her kids and she loved her husband and her kid. I have youth group kids, but I don't just want to be remembered for the lady who loved otters. But I do love them. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. I had to Google a little bit and try to see because there's a lot of smaller verses, but there's nothing that really goes into a lot of depth on leaving a legacy. There's tons of Bible verses out there, but I kind of wanted one that was more than just one verse. So we're going way back. We're going to Deuteronomy, way back, and I actually had to Google a little bit because because we're coming into Deuteronomy in chapter 6, some of you don't know what went on through 1 through 5. So Deuteronomy is basically Moses, the story of Moses, and these are his letters or sermons what he talked to his people about before they entered the promised land. So they've been released from Egypt, they are free, and now they're roaming the wilderness for 40 years, and now they're going to be entering the promised land. And then it said that chapter 6 is where we're going to be reading out of, but chapter 5, it was right after he had retold them about the 10 commandments. First time he gets mad and they break, and then he goes up back on the mountain and rewrites them. So this is basically a chapter where Moses is talking to them about their commitment to the Lord and to following after God. So I'm going to pray. We're going to start. I am not going to go over 20 something minutes today. I'm going to try so hard. So I'm just going to pray. We're going to get to it. Jesus, I thank you for your word. Work through me and let's learn about legacy, Lord, and the legacy that you want to leave for us and that you want us to leave for generations. And I thank you that we have scripture to look and learn from. And I just pray over this time. Amen. So Deuteronomy chapter 6. So it's Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. 5th book. That's about as far as I know. Joshua, Judges, Ruth, I think I know after that. So see, I don't know all the books of the Bible by heart. New Living Translation, and I think I'm just going to read all of chapter 6. So starting in the beginning, let's go. So this section is called A Call for Wholehearted Commitment. And he says, "These are the commands, decrees, and regulations that the Lord your God commanded me to teach you. You must obey them in the land you are about to enter and occupy. And you and your children and grandchildren must fear the Lord your God as long as you live. If you obey all his decrees and commands, you will enjoy a long life. Listen closely, Israel, and be careful to obey. Then all will go well with you, and you will have many children in the land flowing with milk and honey, just as the Lord, the God of your ancestors, promised you. Listen, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord alone, and you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your strength. And you must commit yourselves wholeheartedly to these commands that I am giving you today. Repeat them again and again to your children. Talk about them when you are at home and when you are on the road, when you are going to bed and when you are getting up. Tie them to your hands and wear them on your forehead as reminders." Maybe that's where tattoos came from. Write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. The Lord your God will soon bring you into the land he swore to give you when he made a vow to your ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It is a land with large, prosperous cities that you did not build. The houses will be richly stocked with goods you did not produce. You will draw water from cisterns you did not dig, and you will eat from vineyards and olive trees you did not plant. When you have eaten your fill in this land, be careful not to forget the Lord, who rescued you from slavery in the land of Egypt. You must fear the Lord your God and serve him. When you take an oath, you must only use his name. You must not worship any of the gods of neighboring nations, for the Lord your God, who lives among you, is a jealous God. His anger will flare up against you, and he will wipe you from the face of the earth. You must not test the Lord your God as you did when you complained at Massah. You must diligently obey the commands of the Lord your God, all the laws and decrees he has given you. Do what is right and good in the Lord's sight, so all will go well with you. Then you will enter and occupy the good land that the Lord swore to give your ancestors. You will drive out all the enemies living in the land, just as the Lord said you would. In the future, your children will ask you, what is the meaning of these laws, decrees, and regulations that the Lord our God has commanded us to obey? Then you must tell them, we were Pharaoh's slaves in Egypt, but the Lord brought us out of Egypt with his strong hand. The Lord did miraculous signs and wonders before our eyes, dealing terrifying blows against Egypt and Pharaoh and all of his people. He brought us out of Egypt so he could give us this land that he had sworn to give our ancestors. And the Lord our God commanded us to obey all these decrees and to fear him so that he can continue to bless us and preserve our lives, as he has done to this day. For we will be counted as righteous when we obey all the commands the Lord our God has given us. That's a lot. So many good things in there. And what a beautiful example of God keeping his promises. When the Lord tells us that he'll do something, he'll do it. We don't have to worry. We don't have to, we do have to be patient sometimes, most times. But if it's promised to us, we can trust that he will fulfill his promise to us. And this is what Moses is telling them, remember where you came from. Remember what the Lord has done for us. If you know the backstory of Israel, they were in slavery in Egypt and they were treated horrifically. And, Moses goes to Pharaoh and Pharaoh's like, nah, I'm not letting these people out of here. Sorry. And there's plague after plague after plague after plague. And finally, the last straw is where we get Passover from. The Lord says to Moses and the Israelites, I want you to take this lamb and sacrifice it and put the blood over your doorposts. And the spirit of death will pass over your houses. And they do, and their lives are spared, but all the firstborn sons of Egypt are taken. And then Pharaoh is like, just get out. And then he's mad. Like I said in, I think, one of the first ones, if you watch that movie, I always blank on the name, but Prince of Egypt, you'll know the whole story. But the amazing things the parting of the Red Sea, that's just incredible in itself. And I can't even imagine what that looks like to see a sea split in half, they're walking and there's fish swimming next to their faces, and what they were rescued from. And all of the things, if you read through all the things that God provides for them, food, water, they never lacked anything. This is what he wants them to remember. tell your kids. Like, I don't know if you guys have family stories that have been passed down from generation to generation to generation, but that's where this idea of legacy comes from. It's, what are you going to leave for your kids? Like, what are we going to leave for our children? And I don't know about you, but for me, like, the most important thing that I can leave for Chanel is Christ, is her faith. And it's my job as her mom, obviously Brian too, but as her mom to instill the things that I've learned and the things that God has done in my life and why I believe what I believe. And it's not just, oh, well, I went to church because my parents went to church. For me, it has always been super important for Chanel to have her own faith. Like, I don't want to ever be like, well, you need to follow the Lord because we did and because grandma and grandpa brought, like, I want her to know why it's so important and why I believe what I believe and how I've proven it so many times and the proof that there is, and the questions that she's going to have and that she's having right now. I mean, she's at the age where they start to question. It's not just, oh, we go to church because mom and dad took us to church. Like, they have questions now, hard questions. And it's our jobs as parents to not ignore those and not let the world answer those questions, because they will, and it won't be what we want. And it's important for me to invest in her and to teach her. It's important to invest in the lives of any youth. Like, I was involved many years with youth group and teaching those kids and loving on those kids. Because sometimes there's that phrase, like, you may be the only Jesus that people ever meet. And it's important and it's convicting because we may be the only Christ that people see. And what does our representation of Christ lead them to think about? And that's why it's so important for us Christians to be in the Word and to be studying and to ask God to change our hearts, because this is who we are. This is what we're going to leave behind. When people see me and hear me, do they see Christ, or do they see just another person? And for many years, I'll admit it, like, I did not stand out at all. Like, I would say I'm a Christian, but I wouldn't act like it. And I've said awful things, and I have not at all been a light at all. And I feel terrible for that, because I don't know if that's the only Christ people have ever seen. And that's not what I want them to remember me by. I want them to say, wow, like, she was loving and she was kind. And notice I skipped over patient. I do want people to think I'm patient. I'm trying very hard to be patient. But I want them to say, above all else, Nicole loved Jesus and she did her best to be an example worthy of Christ. And that's what I want. And it's what I hope and pray that all my friends and family, like, when people hear, oh, the name Christian, like, I want them to say, well, I know there are pretty rough Christians out there, people that call themselves Christians, but, like, remember that girl Nicole? Like, man, I never met somebody who loved Jesus so much and loved us, even though we weren't a part of Christianity at all. Like, I want to be accepting, not, you know what I mean? Like, even if you don't believe what I believe, like, I want to still love on you. And I may not participate in what they do, but I've had tons of friends be like, listen, I know this isn't your thing, but like, thanks for not judging me. Like, thanks for being there for me, even though like I may not go to your church, or and that's what I want. They call us Christians because back in the day it was actually an insult. They were little Christs, and it was an insult. And for me, it's not an insult anymore, because that's exactly who I want to look like. And that's what I hope my legacy is. I want to be a person who was loving and kind and loved her family and loved her friends and spread Christ to anyone that she could think of, and who wasn't judgy, and who did her best to love the unlovable. Or I don't think there's anybody unlovable, but like those people that are outcasts and that people are not loved by society. Like, I want to be that person that was like, you know what, but she was nice and she was kind and she helped me when everybody else turned their backs on me. And I'll be honest, that legacy was instilled in me by my own mom. I remember growing up, and there wasn't an animal or a person that my mom would not help to a fault. I mean, we had a family live with us when I was growing up. Like, I came home and I was like, who are these people living with us, like in our home? And they went through hard times, and my mom, there wasn't even a question. Like, my dad was so used to it. He was like, well, we're just going to help them. I mean, we knew them. They went to our church, but, that's the legacy that my mom left for me. And always be kind and help people, because you never know when you're going to be the one in need. So that is a legacy. That is something I will always remember about my mom. And my dad, there's so many things that like pass down from generation to generation. And my dad, I'll always know him as the man who followed Christ with everything he had, and he loved the Lord. And no one could tell anybody any different. If they knew my dad, they were like, oh, he loved Jesus, and he sang really well, because that's where I get it from. So I just hope and pray that you think a little bit about what you want your legacy to be. And if you are a Christian, I hope that being a little Christ is what you want people to remember you for. And if you are a Christian and you're not living the right way, like it's okay to say that, and it's okay to come back and say, God, I'm messing up. I did it big time. Like, I wasn't living that way. I wasn't doing the right things. And it's just, all you have to do is turn around, and that's it. And you're back, and just say, I'm sorry, Lord, forgive me. And you're brand new. Let's start all over. It's day one. So that's all I have. I thank you for listening, and I thank you for supporting me all these weeks. If Facebook doesn't work the best for you, I have uploaded everything to YouTube. I had them unlisted for a while, and then I was like, whatever, if somebody sees them, nobody's really looking for me. So if it's easier, if you want to share them with a friend or something, that's crazy to me that you would want to share any of my videos with anyone. But if for some reason you're like, hey, I don't know why my crazy friend is doing this, but I thought you might want to see it or tell someone about it. I don't know. It's crazy. I am in no way looking to be an influencer or anything. But if for some reason you want to, that's fine. But I can't make them public on Facebook, because I try to keep my Facebook private due to Chanel, because there's other things that I have to be concerned about. But feel free on YouTube if you want to. So I'm just going to pray and then call it a night. And I did it under 25 minutes. Booyah. Jesus, thank you so much for allowing me this time to share with my family and friends, and for those watching. And I just ask that you renew this fire in our nation and in our circles, Lord. and just help us be and have a lasting legacy for our children, for our family, for our friends, that they will say that is a man or woman who love the Lord, and that is the most important thing that we can do for our families. I thank you for this time. I thank you for your word. And I just thank you that you continue to grow me and strengthen me and teach me how to be more like you. And in the areas that I struggle with, Lord, just continue to help me. I've seen so many changes in my life so far, even since starting this. So I just pray that you continue to burn off what doesn't look like you. And I just thank you and praise you for everyone who is watching, and those who aren't watching, Lord. If you want to work on their hearts and bring them in, that's fine. I just want to be obedient and do what you asked me to do. So I thank you for this time, and I just pray over all of my friends and family. In your name I pray, amen. All right, guys, thanks. Have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.